Welcome. My name is Jeremy O'Connell, and I'm the lead or head programmer for the Connect2SSH bash utility. In this video, I'm going to show you how to update the key_path variable. Now let me say this. This is for advanced individuals. An average user more than likely is not going to need to update this. Because if you're not already familiar, keys are stored in, at least on Unix and Linux-based systems, should be stored in the .ssh directory. At least that's the default location. I don't know about you, though. I don't like storing my keys there. I put my keys in a completely different directory. So there's two types of accounts that Connect2SSH is able to work with. The first being password-based, where you just have to enter in, obviously, a given password. Then there are key-based accounts, which are far more secure because, in general, the key is going to be a lot more secure than any password will be. And the best practice is to use a key with a password or passphrase. Because that way, if your keys are ever stolen, hopefully you'll realize it and you'll be able to change your keys before the individual or group attackers are able to figure out what the secret phrase is, and then unlock and be able to log into any SSH servers, and those servers could be running on switches or networking equipment or actual servers. It does not matter, as I've said in previous videos. However, when adding an account or editing an account in the Connect2SSH utility, I've designed it so you don't have to enter the full path to the key file, your private file, for an account. So let's say you had 30 accounts that were using keys, and you could have 10 or so or 5 that are password based. But we'll focus on these 30 for hypothetical illustration reasons, I should say. So you have these 30 accounts that are using keys. Now, instead of having to specify the full path to the keys, I have set it up so that this utility, you can put in a directory, and then you can just specify the key files. Or, let's say, for example, you want to have your keys in different groups. Maybe you have clients, or maybe you have servers and networking equipment. You could then say have the whatever folder that they're all sitting in, then you might have the networking directory / say whatever router 1 or switch 1 for the actual key name. Or you might just use the same key for everything. I generally don't like to do that. I personally like to generate lots of keys so that even if one key is stolen or compromised, just like using multiple passwords, you can't compromise everything. So you have to keep this in mind. I'm going to show you this, but if you want to update the key, you need to keep in mind for all your keys, what is going to be the common directory. Now, if you want to store keys in your home directory, because that's the default is Connect2SSH will look in your home directory .ssh, that directory. However, maybe you want to store some keys in /opt/keys. Then if that was the case, since you're going to have some in home /username/.ssh and some in /opt/keys, you could not specify anything more than just the first /. That's all you could specify, because that's all they have in common. If you want to have keys and say your home /username/keys and home /username/clients, then you could just specify your home directory because they share in common home. Now, as I said, you can have subdirectories. That's fine. So how does this work? Let's just show you a little bit about how you update this. I know illustrations and demonstrations for me make it a lot easier. So let me go ahead and get out of this. Go to the terminal. Now we're going to need to update this file, variable, really. So you're going to have to type in Connect2SSH, and there's no shortcuts for this. You're going to have to type in config, then dash or hyphen, update, space, and then you're going to type in key _ and then path. So as you can see here, we have Connect2SSH space config hyphen update space key _ path. Go ahead and hit enter. The system's going to say, okay, I'm going to be updating this configuration setting. It looks up for this variable, which is, of course, the key underscore path. And then it's going to give us the current value. Now, on Unix systems, if you're already familiar, then the default will be to look in your username, which is what this symbol here is for, /.ssh. Now, you do not enter in the trailing slash. No trailing slash. So, if I was going to simply have different files throughout my home directory, so my home / username, and I was going to have some in key files and some in clients, then all I could really use is this, or I could type in I could type in develop or something like that. Remember, no trailing slash, because that's all I could enter that was shared. If I was going to have some in my home directory and some in opt, then all I could use is this. If I was going to say change it and have key files in my home directory / say SSH underscore keys, then I could put that in, because then I might have /client, /switches, /routers, whatever NAS is, maybe however you want to arrange is up to you. So let's say we're going to change this we'll change this to keys. So we'll have our home directory /dot, we won't put a dot. Well, let's put a dot. Let's do something different, because that way it's hidden from, just a standard ls, and it's hidden from viewing it, if someone views it from a file manager without having the hidden. I mean, that's not ultimate security, but we'll put it in dot keys just to show something different. So now what we're going to do is, if I'm happy with this, I then again, trailing slash, hit enter. The system's going to say about to change, about to update this variable name to what the new information is. Now you have to type in yes to save the changes and no to discard. You do have to change the no to a yes, because that way it protects your data, so it's sort of like a confirmation. If I type in yes, hit enter, it says success. Key path has been updated. So if I go ahead and clear this, run that command again, you'll see now we get .keys instead of .ssh. That's how easy it is. Just remember, no trailing slash. Now, if you come here and you're like, I just want to confirm this, I don't want to make any more changes, Control-C will just cancel the command, and you will then go back to your prompt, and nothing has been changed, obviously, because unless you type in that yes and get to that point, nothing's been nothing's been changed in the SQL database. So that's SQLite database, I should say. That's it. That's all there is. So if you're a little bit confused about this, you just stick with the default .ssh, because that's where, when you go look online, manuals will tell you, pages will tell you. But if you're someone who like me, wants to store your keys somewhere else, you don't want in the default location, because the system will often try and connect using that path. .ssh, that's the default for most servers and most settings. You can change that in the SSH underscore config, or in other cases you might want to change that to look in on other servers in the SSHD underscore config, and those are usually in etc, etc. So it'd be /etc/ssh/ssh underscore config, and then repeat the same /etc/ssh/sshd underscore config for the daemon. And that's where you can change your system to look in different directories instead of going to .ssh. But that's a very advanced item to do. That's advanced server administration. But it is possible to change. However, for Connect2SSH, because we're now getting out of the realm of Connect2SSH here, this is, as I said, as the developer, I programmed this so that it would have a central place to look for keys. And you just have to keep in mind, you can edit this later, and if you have an SQLite reader modifier, or you're familiar with SQL commands, you can even update this globally later on too, outside of this program. So there you go. That's all that's involved. And as I said, this will become more familiar when you start watching additional videos, or you'll start understanding what I'm talking about. So I'll see you in a future video.